got it. You got this. You got this. Here we go. Woo. Ah, it feels good. How's everyone? All right, let me get this thing off. Hold on. There we go. Well, that was fun. Now, you didn't think we were going to actually have a whole day dedicated to chaos without a little in-house chaos, did you? That was fun. So today I've heard from speakers who have talked about how chaos is beautiful and how chaos is dangerous and how chaos is random. But to me, I want to try to make the point that chaos can actually be delightful and even useful. And as you heard, my day job is as an elementary school science teacher. And I would, thank you. And as you'd imagine, if you were to poll a bunch of elementary school teachers and ask them, is chaos and disorder welcome in their classroom, I'm guessing 99 out of 100 would say absolutely not. I'd be the 100, by the way. I actually think that it can be very useful. I'm going to try to prove that to you today. I should also mention that, I do have a little bit of an alter ego where I get to take my love for science and share it, not just with a couple dozen fourth graders, but also with the entire world through television. And it's a little hard to explain, so why don't you just take a look. Job ever. Oh, God, I love my job. So here's kind of the interesting thing about that clip. If you had no context to that clip and you were to just hear it and not see it, think about that would be like. You would hear banging, screaming, literally explosions. It would kind of be the definition of chaos. And yet, in the end, it's all kind of delightful. And that's nice. Now, I did have a little bit of chaos, a little bit of disruption in my life a couple of years ago as a teacher. Because if you think about my classroom, it used to be that there were desks and tables like a lot of classrooms. There was a whole wall of windows that would shine bright sunlight into my room. We could grow plants. It was great. But then we had a little bump in enrollment, and they needed to commandeer my room, and I needed to change rooms. And they decided to place me in the one room that no one wanted to teach in, because it was in the one room in the entire school that had no windows. Yeah, think about that. No windows. And I thought, this is going to be a horrible disruption to my students' day. They're going to go from bright classroom to bright classroom to bright classroom, and then come into this cave with fluorescent lighting. And how is that going to be as a learning environment? And so I was lamenting about this with a friend who's a bit of a sci-fi geek. And he sat back in his chair, and he said, you know what? It's always dark outside of starships. Why don't you just turn your classroom into a starship classroom? And so I didn't get much sleep that night. I was thinking and thinking and thinking. And so, as well as being a science teacher, I'm a bit of a maker. I like tinkering and building things. And so I started to think, what kind of decorations could I have? Could I change up the tables and how they're placed? Could I change the lighting? And so all summer long, I kind of tinkered away at this. And let me show you, this is what my classroom looked like when I got it. Yeah, pretty typical. Chairs, whiteboard, tables. But after a little bit of tinkering, this is what we ended up with. Now, there are some things you can't see in this picture. For example, on the ceiling, that is our science fiction sensor array. It has all sorts of blinky lights, this pulsating orb. It does absolutely nothing, but it looks really cool. And then I got a bunch of little computer screens off of eBay for like $8 each. Got some Christmas lights and put some buttons and little readouts in. so it gave it this whole sort of sci-fi console look. And then I even had a little destruction table. I got a little video microscope. And so kids bring in their old electronics, and they take it apart and see how it can work. And so suddenly, to my surprise, a little bit, is it turned out that kids got excited about coming to the darkest room in the school. And that was kind of cool for me. And how amazing would it be if we had classrooms like this all over the country and kids were excited to go into the classroom. So it was the best kind of disruption for me. But then, of course, I needed to carry this on. And I needed to create a little bit of chaos in my classroom. Because the one thing that all chaos has in common is it requires our attention. And so I did get a memo from the TEDxAsbury committee notifying me that there were to be no open flames during my presentation. I don't know if the person that spoke about climbing Mount Everest got the same memo, but I did. So I decided to scale it down a bit and actually share what I call a random act of science. This is something that you guys can actually try at home. So we're going to bring it over here. I'll show you how you set this up. It's very simple. You're going to start with a cup of water. And perhaps you've seen this. It's a great physics demo. On top of the water, you're going to put a plate. On top of the plate, a cardboard tube. It could be toilet paper tube, paper towel tube. And now, on top of that, a raw egg. So here's how this works. I take my hand and I smack the plate. The plate flies off, the tube flies off, and if all goes well, the egg splashes down safely in the glass. But this is what we call level 1 chaos, because I could have been practicing this for weeks so I get it right every time. So I want to introduce an unknown factor, because that always makes it a little more exciting. If you really want a great unknown factor, I recommend animals or toddlers. But we're going to settle for a TEDx audience member. So there's a gentleman right down here. Would you mind joining me up on the stage? Come on up. All right, now full disclosure, this is Josh. Josh, right?
Yep.
I did approach Josh during the break, and I said, would you be willing to come up for a demonstration? And I made sure he wasn't familiar with this experiment, but that's all we've talked about.
Yep.
You are a brave soul. All right, so Josh, you understand? I explained it to you. So I'm going to have you come over here. You're going to put your hand right there. All right, and I will count you down. Don't do it till I get to 1.
All right.
Here we go. 5, 4, 3. You know something. This is good. This is level 2 chaos. I think we can bump it up a little bit. All we got to do is add more eggs.
Over.
Oh, yeah. There we go. Got that. We got that. Now we're talking, Josh. There we go. How you feeling?
It's light work.
Yeah. Now we're going to have to also bump up our plate. And we're going to need some more of these things. Hold on. All right. There we go. So, important. Put that right over that. There we go. Ooh, that was fun. All right. I think we're good there. And now for the eggs. Now, Josh, I'm going to give you a tip here. The big tip is that you have a margin of error of about 2 inches before you go from hitting just the plate to hitting the cups. You only want to hit the plate. All right, there we go. I'm going to get these out of the way.
How hard do I want to hit it?
So you got to hit it hard enough to whack that whole thing out of the way, but soft enough that you don't hit the cups.
All right.
Welcome to TED. All right. Now, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, hand over there. On 1. 5, 4, 3. You hear that?
I hear it.
It's the undivided attention of an entire room of people. Do you know how this is gold for teachers? This is gold. And this is when you want to do one thing. You want to teach a little lesson. So here's the deal. Both the cups and the egg have a lot of inertia. They have more mass. So they want to stay exactly where they are. So when you hit that, because these have less mass, less inertia, they will hopefully move out of the way. These want to stay where they are until gravity takes over and drops them down. Now, there's one other thing you should know. Half of this crowd is on Team Josh. They want to see you succeed. They want to see those plop in. They will cheer when you do it if it works.
Right.
The other half, and they know who they are, want to see this go terribly wrong. Wow. I'm going to change that. It's more than half. All right. So the good news is you're going to get applause either way. And the good news for me is that I've already taught you about inertia, so my job is done. All right. For real this time. Here we go. Good luck. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Whoa! Well done. Thank you, Josh. Look at that. Oh, I'm so happy. All right. Well, listen, I have realized that this is not uncommon. Think about times where chaos leads to joy. A surprise party is this crazy moment of chaos that's followed by celebration. Why do we drop balloons at political conventions? Things falling from the sky is chaos. And yet somehow it turns into this wonderful moment. And why not have some confetti cannons? Confetti is literally a visualization of chaos, and yet we use it to celebrate. So chaos is out there, and it can in fact be delightful. I also asked them if I could use 4 confetti cannons. They said, no way. But they didn't say anything about liquid nitrogen. Bring it out here, guys. All right. So here's the deal, folks. This is liquid nitrogen. It's a cryogenic liquid. It means it's super cold, 321 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. This is my favorite demonstration of all time. I'm going to pour some of that into this barrel. Here we go. Oh, yeah. Look at that. All right, now to this, we are going to add something that is very much the opposite, something very hot. In this case, this water, which is just below boiling. When we do that, 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, the water is going to vaporize. And number 2, the water is going to come together, and if all goes well, we will get an actual cloud inside of the Paramount Theater. You ready for that? All right. This is my kind of confetti. So here we go. Count me down, won't you? In 5, 4. 3, whoo. There it is. Oh, yeah. All right, love the chaos of the day. Thanks, everyone.